Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We welcome all of you to this session of Sri Bhagavatamrita, session 87 of Sri Bhagavatamrita. We welcome all of our YouTube live listeners and our listeners over Facebook Live. Thank you all so much for joining us here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatra Dharana Paraha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanatha Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Dhamadaya Nagara Gramatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangurlangayate girim yatkripadamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Again, we welcome all of our Facebook Live listeners. We are begging for all of your forgiveness that there is still we are experiencing some technical difficulties with our internet, which is allowing us to only broadcast over Facebook. But by the mercy of Krishna, we are hoping that in a day or two, we will be back to broadcasting over YouTube also. So we beg for forgiveness from all of our YouTube live listeners. But we assure you that all of these videos, we are so thankful to Prem Vikas Prabhu and Divyangi Mataji that they are assisting us in uploading these Facebook videos onto the YouTube library of the Bhagavatamrita sessions in the playlist. So the YouTube live viewers will also not miss out on anything. So those who follow us on YouTube, please do visit the channel. You will be able to see these videos also on YouTube as well. We are hoping that by Krishna's mercy that this situation will be resolved hopefully by tomorrow, if not by day after tomorrow for sure. So with that, we start with our session on today for session 87 of Sri Bhagavatamrita. We are going to cover chapter 4 and 5 of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This chapter 4 is entitled Drumila Explains the Incarnations of Godhead to King Nimi. So the various forms of the past, present and future incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Hari, and the various transcendental characteristics of each of these avatars, they are what we are going to be trying to understand in this particular chapter. So something very interesting is also coming up. So please stay tuned about Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that we will be discussing in today's session. So this is text 1, King Nimi. He is saying, the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends into the material world by his internal potency and according to his own desire. Therefore, please tell us about the various pastimes of Sri Hari, which he has performed in the past, is performing now, and will be performing in the world in the future in his various incarnations. So we see here that King Nimi is not only just asking about the past incarnations of Krishna, he's also asking about the present ones, and he's very wonderfully asking about the future incarnations that has not yet happened. So we can see the validity of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the Srimad Bhagavatam was written 5,000 years ago, and at that time Lord Buddha had not yet appeared. But we will see that even Lord Buddha has been talked about here, even including Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu has been talked about here. That is the validity of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that it is a spotless Purana and that it is completely beyond time and space. So it is describing about things which are going to happen in the future. This is what is called as Trikaldarshi. That is why this Vedic scriptures, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is told to be the cream of all Vedic literature, as is written by Krishna Dvaipayan Vedavyas, who is the Shaktavesh avatar of Sri Krishna. And he is Trikaldarshi. He knows this is Apaurushaya. It's not written by any mere human being. This is the proof of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that this is Apaurushaya, that this is not written by any mundane person. It is written directly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself in the form of his Shaktavesh avatar, in the form of Sri Vyasadeva. So with this we move on. So text 2, Sri Drumila, who is one of the Navayogendras, he's saying, anyone trying to enumerate or describe fully the unlimited qualities of the unlimited Supreme Lord has the intelligence of a foolish child. Just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks Krishna, that Krishna, please tell me about all your, I want to know about all your energies. I want to know the I want to know what your glories are. I want to know your opulences. So after Krishna reveals a few of his opulences, Krishna just says, these are just a spark of my splendor. It's just a spark, tiny spark. Because Lord Anantashesh, even with his unlimited mouths, the glories of Lord Balaram, which we were hearing in yesterday's session, Lord Anantashesh, with his unlimited mouths, he has been singing the glories of Krishna and the pastimes of Krishna with his unlimited mouths for innumerable, unlimited, part of time. And he's never been able to complete even till today. That is how glorious Krishna's leelas are, his pastimes are, his qualities are, his incarnations are. So therefore, it cannot be, that's what Drumila is saying, that it just to even, describe fully about the unlimited opulences or the qualities of the Supreme Lord is next to impossible. It is like a foolish child, trying to catch the moon. It's impossible to do that. Even if a great genius could somehow or the other, after a time-consuming endeavor, count all the particles of dust on the surface of the earth, such a genius could also never count the attractive qualities of the personality of Godhead. So even if a person comes up with these many particles of dust are there on the planet Earth, even that will not be able to, even such a person will not be able to comprehend the unlimited qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Narayan Rishi, who are peacefully perfect, and they are the best of sages, Narayan Rishi, they were born as the sons of Dharma and his wife Murti, the daughter of Daksha. Narayan Rishi taught the devotional service of the Lord by which material work ceases, and he himself perfectly practiced this knowledge. He is living even today, his lotus feet served by the greatest of all saintly people. So Narayan Rishi, they are said to be eternal personalities. They are residing in Sri Badrikashram in the area of Badrinath, even till today. While we trek ourselves towards Badrinath, we come across two beautiful mountains. They are called as the Narayan Parvat. So the Narayan Parvat, the hills of Narayan Rishis, they are said to be residing in that area till today. Such a blissful place to be in. So King Indra himself actually became fearful, thinking that Narayan Rishi would become very powerful by their severe penances and by their austerities, and they would seize the heavenly kingdom of Indra. So Indra, not knowing that the transcendental glories of the incarnation of the Lord is in the form of this Narayan Rishi, he sent Cupid and his associates to the Lord's residence in Badrikashram. You see, Indra, he's always very fearful. Those people who are in position, one thing which they are always fearful of. Srila Prabhupada also says this very beautifully. A rich person is always very fearful. They do not live in happiness. They live in anxiety and fear. Why? Why do they live in anxiety and fear? Because they are scared that someone will come and rob them and take away all their money, take away all their riches. So they are living in constant fear. They are not even able to enjoy. They just like to, keep their wealth locked up in their treasure room, in their lockers. And they'll just be satisfied, I have so much wealth, I have so much wealth. But what is the use? What is the use of such wealth when it's not able to buy even a peaceful night of sleep? Srila Prabhupada always said that a person who is a beggar on the street, a poor person, is at least able to sleep peacefully, even though he may not have all the riches. But a person who is sleeping, who has a huge bungalow, who has so much opulence, so much riches, but they're not able to buy sleep. They're not able to buy peace of mind. Similarly, those who are in power, the one thing that they're always scared of is that their power is going to be taken away. That the reason for which they are surviving is going to be taken away. They are so attached to the position. because they know what this position is giving them, the power to lord it over the material nature. You see, this is what happens to living entities in their forgetfulness of Krishna. Just like Krishna is the Lord of all that he surveys. He is Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. And we are the part and parcels of Krishna. So we have that tendency because, a drop of ocean water also has the same qualities as the entire ocean. But when we are tinged with the material modes, then instead of serving the entire ocean as being as part of the entire ocean, we want to survive separately from the entire ocean, want to create our entire existence in separation from the ocean. That is our foolishness. So therefore, the drop of the ocean also thinks that, I am the ocean too. So just like a whale can stay so peacefully inside the entire ocean, a whale can also stay in me. I am a drop, but still a whale can stay inside me. But the drop forgets that I am just a drop. A drop, even a fish can't stay. Even a baby tiny fish cannot survive in a drop of ocean. And we have dreams and aspirations of having an entire, whale to come and stay with us. That is our misconception, our illusion. So therefore, Indra was also in this same position. This was the position of Indra. That he was always so much living in constant fear. Anyone would do anywhere Ashwamedh Yagya or any kind of Yagya, any kind of tapasya. Indra would immediately get so jittery. Now they're coming to take away my power, my post that I have as the king of the heavens is going to go away. So therefore Indra sends his agents to make the person who are doing such great austerities, to make them fall down. So with that mood, Krishna sent Cupid, Madana, to Naranarayan Rishi, considering Naranarayan Rishi to be ordinary persons. So Cupid and his associates came to the residence of Naranarayan Rishi at Badrikashram, and as the charming breezes of spring created a most sensuous atmosphere, Cupid himself attacked the Lord with his arrows in the form of irresistible glances of beautiful women. Cupid's, weapons are his bow and arrow. So with that he struck the Naranarayan Rishis. So the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Naranarayan Rishi, they understood the offense that was committed by Indra. And they did not become disturbed by it, or nor did they, take any offense on this. Instead, Naranarayan Rishis, they spoke laughingly as follows to Cupid. They spoke very laughingly to them. They were actually trembling. Cupid was trembling in front of Naranarayan Rishi because Cupid had an experience. Before, whenever he comes to disturb any yogis or rishis, in the past he came to disturb the tapasya of Mahadev. Mahadev burnt him down, burnt Cupid down by the opening of his third eye. So Cupid was really trembling with fear. But Naranarayan Rishis, they spoke to Cupid and they said, "Do not fear, O mighty Madana. Do not fear from us. Rather, please, accept some gifts that we are offering to you and kindly sanctify our ashram by your presence." So when Naranarayan Rishi spoke in this way, Cupid and all the other devatas who were there, they bowed their heads with shame and they addressed the Lord as follows. They said that, "Oh my dear Lord, you're always transcendental, beyond the reach of illusion, and therefore you are forever changeless. Your causeless compassion towards us, despite our great offense unto you, is not at all unusual, because it is you who are an ocean of mercy. And you are completely self-satisfied and free from anger. And therefore, you do not have any false pride in you. And please, we are bowing down our heads in gratitude to you at your lotus feet. Then, the demigods and Cupid, they all worshipped Narada Rishis and, and gave him suitable prayers. So while the demigods and Madana, Cupid, were praising Narada Rishis, the all-powerful Lord suddenly manifested before their eyes many, many beautiful women. The Lord himself, Narada Rishis, they manifested beautiful women who were very, very gorgeous, decorated with fine clothing and ornaments, and all they were faithfully engaged in the Lord's service. All these beautiful women. So when the followers of the demigods, they gazed upon the fascinating, mystic beauty of all these women who were created by Narada Rishis, their minds became totally bewildered by their beauty. And seeing the beauty and the magnificence of these beautiful women, the representatives of all the devatas who had come with Madana, were completely diminished of their own opulence and their own existence. They understood what is the caliber of Narada Rishi. So the Supreme Lord of Lords then smiled, and they told the representatives of Lord Indra, they said, please choose one of these women, whomever you find suitable to you. She will become the ornament of the heavenly planets. So you see here that Indra had sent these demigods and Madana to shoot arrows of beautiful women to dissuade Narada Rishi from following their vows. Well, what did Narada Rishi do? The same, he gave more beautiful women, seeing whom Madana and the other devatas got confused themselves. That such beauty they had never seen before. And they, Narada Rishi, said to the devatas, that now you choose whichever women you want and take them with you. Then the servant of the demigods, they actually then selected, it's said in text 15, that they selected Urvashi, the best of the Apsaras, and placing her in front of them out of respect, they returned back to the heavenly kingdoms. So out of the many women that were, manifested by the will of Narada Rishis, the devatas selected the most beautiful, the most graceful amongst all of those women, who was none other than the Apsara Urvashi. The servants of the demigods then reached the assembly of Indra, and thus, while all the residents of the three heavens listened, they explained to Indra, what is the supreme power of Lord Narayan. When Indra heard about these glories of Narada Rishi, he became aware of his offense towards the lotus feet of Narada Rishi, and he became both frightened and also astonished. Why did he become frightened? Why did Indra become frightened? Because Atmavat Manyate Jagat. Because Indra thought that if someone comes and offends me, what is my reaction to that? I come with Airavata, I come riding on an Airavata, and I bring my Samvartaka clouds, and I destroy that person. That is what Indra does when he feels offended by someone. That's what he did to the Brajbasis. When the Brajbasis did not offer the sacrifice to Indra and instead offered their worship to Sri Giriraj Govardhan, Indra got offended. He came with the Samvartaka clouds to inundate Brajadham. They were, of course, protected by Krishna. But Indra became frightened in this case too, because he thought that I responded like that when someone offended me. So I offended Narada Rishis. So maybe now they are sending this Apsara to me, but maybe they will also come to attack me, like I would normally go and attack them. This is called as Atmavat Manyate Jagat. that we perceive the world like how we would react to certain situations, we think that the entire world or the people in general will also react in the same way to us. That is the naiveness of the living entity. That is the illusion in which the living entities live. Atmavat manyate jagat. If I am lazy, I think everyone else is lazy. If I am greedy, I think everyone else is greedy. If I am responding in this way, I think everyone would respond in that way. This is the disease of material nature. So that's what is shown here, depicted here by Indra. So, text 17. Now, from text 17 to text 23, we find some of the highlights, the major highlights of the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the next chapter, we'll find some more incarnations which are being talked about. So text 17 says, the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Vishnu, has descended into this world by his various partial incarnations, such as Lord Hamsa, the swan, Dattatreya, the four Kumaras, and our father, the mighty Rishabdev. By such incarnations, the Lord teaches the science of self-realization for the benefit of the entire universe. In his appearance as Hayagriva, he killed the demon Madhu and thus brought the Vedas back from the hellish planet of Patala Loka. So Hayagriva, he killed a different demon called as Madhu. Not the same Madhu demon that was killed by Krishna, but this was killed by Hayagriva, who had actually, stolen the Vedas and hid them in the Patala Loka. So Hayagriva, in his incarnation as a horse, he killed Madhu and brought back the Vedas from the hellish planets. So in his appearance as a fish, the Lord protected Satyavrata Manu, the earth and her valuable herbs. He protected them from the waters of annihilation in the incarnation of a fish. As a boar, the Lord killed Hiranyaksha, the son of Diti, while delivering the earth from the universal waters. And as a tortoise, Kurma, he lifted Mandara mountain on his back so that nectar could be churned from the ocean. In relation to this, Srila Prabhupada comments that, Kurma incarnation comes because the Lord had an itching on his back. Lord's back was itching. So he said, okay, I need to itch my back. So he took this form of a giant tortoise, Kurma. And generally when we want to itch, what do we use? We either use a little stick or, something like with a five fingers, and with a little wooden stick, we try to itch our back. So what Krishna does, he comes as Kurma, as the tortoise. And what is the little wooden stick that Krishna uses to itch his back? Relieve the itchness from his back, he uses the Mandara mountain. And staying on top of Kurma Dev's back, Mandara mountain is churned. It goes like this, ghar, 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 ghar. So then the Lord's itching on his back is satisfied. This is the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By one action, Krishna serves many purposes. This was his main purpose. His back was itching. So the Lord came as Kurma, but he also helped the Devatas get their nectar from the churning of the ocean. The Lord saved the surrendered king of the elephants, Gajendra, who was suffering terrible distress from the grips of a crocodile. So when Krishna, Lord Vishnu, when he came to save Gajendra, Gajendra was fighting for thousands of years with the crocodile. And when Vishnu came riding on Garuda, as soon as, Gajendra offers the Narayan Kavacha prayers to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu immediately comes, swaying down on Garuda. If Lord Vishnu would have wanted, he could have just rescued Gajendra on the spot. On the spot, he would have, just moved his finger and Gajendra would have been freed from the clutches of the crocodile. But it is said that Lord Vishnu came swaying down and he got down from Garuda. And then with his own two lotus hands, he caught Gajendra's body and he pulled out Gajendra from the waters. And when he pulled out Gajendra, the crocodile was also still, clinging on, biting on the feet of Gajendra. And the Lord first killed the crocodile. Why? My father very beautifully explains this. He said that the reason why, Mahavishnu killed the crocodile first is that, anyone who seeks shelter at the lotus feet of a pure devotee is immediately delivered, even before the devotee. So the crocodile had sought shelter of the lotus feet of Gajendra. So therefore Vishnu first delivered the crocodile. And Gajendra, the reason why Vishnu wanted to use his two own lotus hands to, bring Gajendra out, the Srimad Bhagavatam says the specific reason for this is that Vishnu wanted to award Gajendra Swarupya Mukti. So by the touch of the Supreme Lord's lotus hands, Gajendra immediately was transformed into the four-handed form of Lord Vishnu. Swarupya Mukti. He got Swarupya Mukti. So this way, the Lord delivered Gajendra and the crocodile first. So text 19 of this chapter says, the Lord also delivered the tiny ascetic sages called the Valakilyas when they fell into the water in a cow's hoof print, and Indra was laughing at them. The Lord then saved Indra when Indra was covered by darkness due to the sinful reaction for killing Vritrasura. Krishna saved. How Krishna saves even those who become proud. Krishna saves those who even become inimical towards Krishna. Krishna still saves them if they come to Krishna to seek shelter. That is the mercy of Krishna. So merciful. When the wives of the Devatas were trapped in the palace of the demons without any shelter, the Lord saved them. In his incarnation as Nrsimha, the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, to free the saintly Prahlad from fear. Text 20. The Supreme Lord regularly takes advantage of the wars between the demons and the demigods to kill the leaders of the demons. The Lord thus engages and encourages the demigods by protecting the universe through his various incarnations during the reigns of each Manu. The Lord also appeared as Vamana and took the earth away from Bali Maharaj on the plea of begging 3 steps from Bali Maharaj. The Lord then returned the entire world to the sons of Aditi, to the Adityas, to the Devatas. Lord Parashuram appeared in the family of Bhrigu. Lord Parashuram rid the earth of all Kshatriyas 21 times. The same Lord appeared as Lord Ramacandra, the husband of Sita Devi, and thus he killed the 10-headed Ravana, along with all the soldiers of Lanka. May that Sri Ram, whose glories destroy the contamination of the world, be always victorious. Jayati Jayati Sri Ramacandra Bhagavan ki jai. So it's very auspicious that we got news that in Ayodhya, the cornerstone, the foundation stone for the Ram Mandir has been laid, finally. So this is a very wonderful, auspicious news in these times that, thankfully, to the efforts of so many people, that Lord Ramachandra's temple is finally being constructed. At least the foundation stone has been laid in Ayodhya in the glory of Lord Ramachandra. To diminish the burden of the earth, the unborn Lord will take birth in the Yadu dynasty and perform feats impossible even for the demigods. Let us see how this is, just see the vocabulary in this particular sentence. It is said here in text 22, Drumila Rishi is saying that the unborn Lord will take birth in the Yadu dynasty. Before it was said that, the Lord has done this, the Lord has done that. But now it's saying that the Lord will take birth in the Yadu dynasty. Then the second statement says, Propounding speculative philosophy, the Lord, as Buddha, will bewilder the unworthy performers of Vedic scriptures. And as Kalki, the Lord will kill all the low-class men posing as rulers at the end of the age of Kali. So these are future predictions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The last verse of this chapter says, O mighty armed king, there are innumerable appearances and activities of the Supreme Lord of the universe to those who have already mentioned. In fact, the glories of the Lord are unlimited. This brings us to the last chapter, to the second chapter, the last chapter of today, which is chapter 5, entitled Narada concludes his teachings to Vasudeva, Krishna's father. So here, King Nimi is further inquiring that, my dear Yogendras, all of you are most perfect in knowledge of the science of the self. Therefore, kindly explain to me the destination of those who for most part never worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What happens to such people who do not worship the Supreme Lord Hari? What happens to such people? So to that, Chamasa Rishi, one of the Nava Yogendras, Chamasa Rishi, he is responding to this question of King Nimi. He says that each of the four social orders, headed by the Brahmanas, were born through different combinations of the three modes of material nature. From the face, from the arms, the thighs, and the feet of the Supreme Lord in the universal form. Thus the four spiritual orders were also generated. So we see that, in the universal form of the Lord, it is said that the Brahmanas are coming from the face of the Lord. The Kshatriyas come from the arms of the Lord. The Vaishyas come from the thighs of the Lord, and the Shudras are from the lotus feet of the Lord. So if any of the members of the four Varnas and the four Ashramas fail to worship or intentionally disrespect the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of their own creation, they will fall down from their position and will attain a hellish state of life. This is the verdict of the Srimad Bhagavatam, text 3, chapter 5 of the 11th canto. So again, I will repeat it, that if any members of the four Varnas and the four Ashramas, this was the question that King Nimi asked, that what happens to a person who failed to perform their prescribed duty and worship the Supreme Lord? What happens to such people? Here's the answer, that if any members of the four Varnas or the four Ashramas fail to execute and fail to worship or intentionally disrespects the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of their creation, they will fall down from their position into a hellish state of life. The conditioned souls become completely bound in affection to their own corpse-like material bodies and their relatives and their own paraphernalia. In such a proud and foolish condition, the conditioned souls envy other living entities as well as the Supreme Lord Hari, who resides in the hearts of living entities. Thus, enviously offending others, the conditioned souls gradually fall down into hell. This is text 15. So these are the kinds of destination that, Chamasa Rishi, he is saying that not only those who are intentionally envious of the Supreme Lord, but those who are envious of, the devotees of the Supreme Lord, they also fall down to such hellish conditions of life. It's a very dangerous thing to offend the devotees of the Lord, to become envious of the devotees of the Lord, to make, negative comments about the devotees of the Lord. It's a very, very dangerous thing. Unhappiness is guaranteed, no peace, and we gradually fall down into the hellish modes of life. Very dangerous thing. So we must be very, very careful when we deal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his loving devotees. Text 16 says, those who have not achieved knowledge of the absolute truth, yet who are beyond the darkness of complete ignorance, generally follow the path of the pious material life, namely dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Not having time to reflect on any other higher purpose, they become like killers of their own soul. This kind of similar verse is also said in the Sri Ishopanishad. It says there, in text 3 of the Ishopanishad says, Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavritaha tamste pretya bhigachanti yeke chatmahano janaha. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the world of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So thus, those who have turned away, Chamasa Rishi continues to say in text 18, he says that those who have turned away from the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, being under the spell of the Lord's illusory energy, are eventually forced to give up their so-called homes, children, friends, wives, family, which were all created by the illusory potency of the Supreme Lord, and they enter against their will into the darkest regions of the universe. Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Leela, in 19.149, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Athaev Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Shakalai Ashanta. That Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, they are all Ashanta. Why? Why are they not happy? Why are they not peaceful? Because their unlimited desires are never satisfied. They can never be satisfied. Desires, if they are not used in the service of the Lord or their devotees. Material desires are like the ocean's waves, the waves of the ocean. They keep coming and engulfing us. And they drag us down into the deepest, corners of the ocean. But Krishna Bhakta is Nishkam, therefore they are Shanta. So the actual position of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And unless one gives up one's inimical feelings towards the personality of Godhead, there is no question of any kind of peace or happiness. So in text 19, King Nimi continues to inquire. He says that in what colors and what forms does the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear in each of the different ages? You told me a general overview of the incarnations, but I want to know the specific colors and the different kinds of incarnations in specific ages, and with what names and by what relative principles is the Lord worshipped in human society. So this question was answered by Sri Karabhajana Rishi, who is the 9th Yogendra. So Karabhajana Rishi replies in text 20. He says, in each of the 4 yugas, in Treta Yuga, in Satya Yuga, Dwapara and Kali, Lord Keshava appears with various complexions, names and forms, and is thus worshipped by various processes. In Satya Yuga, the Lord appears in white color, and he is four-armed. He has matted locks and wears a garment of tree bark. He carries a black deer skin, a sacred thread, prayer beads, and the rod and water pot of a brahmachari. People in Satya Yuga are peaceful, they are non-envious, friendly to every living creature. So they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by austere meditation and by internal and external sense control. So therefore, the process of worship in the Satya Yuga is meditation. In the Satya Yuga, the Lord is glorified by names such as Hamsa, Suparna, Vaikuntha, Dharma, Yogeshwara, Amala, Ishwara, Purusha, Avyakta, and Paramatma. So these are the different incarnations. Like as I said, we do not have details, even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, of these different incarnations of the Supreme Lord. But these are some of the names that appear that, are there given in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the incarnations that come in this form, in the form of, in white complexion. Text 24 says, in Treta Yuga, the Lord appears with a red complexion. He has 4 arms, golden hair, and wears a triple belt representing initiation into the three Vedas. Embodying the knowledge of worship by sacrificial performance, which is contained in the Rig, Sama, and Yajur Vedas, his symbols are the ladle, spoon, and other implements of sacrifice. You see, in Treta Yuga, the way to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead is through performance of yajna. So therefore the complexion of the Lord is also red, and therefore the Lord also carries, the symbols are like the ladle, the spoon, and other, paraphernalia which are used in Vedic sacrifices. So in the Treta Yuga, the Lord is glorified by the names of Vishnu, Yagya, Prishnigarbha, Sarvadeva, Urukrama, Vrishakapi, Jayanta, and Urugaya. So we know Urukrama, who Urukrama is. He is Vamanadev. Prishnigarbha is mentioned here, who is the first, incarnation where he comes to as, Prishnigarbha, like that. Text 27 is now talking about Dwapar Yuga. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears with a blue complexion, wearing yellow garments. The Lord's transcendental body is marked in this incarnation with Srivatsa and very distinctive ornaments. And he manifests his personal weapon, the Sudarshan Chakra. So my dear king, Karabhajana Rishi is saying, that my dear king, in Dwapara Yuga, men who desire to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme enjoyer, worship him in the mood of honoring a great king, following the prescriptions of both the Vedas and the Tantras. You see, in the prescribed form of worship in Dwapara Yuga is in the form of worshipping Archana worshipping the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. So in the, Srila Prabhupada, he talks about this. He says that when, this Archa Vigraha, worshipping the Lord in Dwapar Yuga, was established by the Lord himself. We can see in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the Lord was ready to leave Hastinapur, Arjuna personally held an umbrella over the Lord, and Uddhava and Satyaki fanned the Lord with decorated fans and chamara. So in this way, Emperor Yudhishthir, and his followers worshipped Krishna. Similarly, in the Rajasuya Yagya, all of the great souls of the universes, they elected Krishna to be worshipped as the Rajadhiraj. And, Krishna accepted that kind of worship. So this is how, Krishna established even, deity worship in Dwapara Yuga. So text 29 and 30 is very beautiful prayers that is glorifying the Supreme Lord. We'll just recite that. Very beautiful prayers. It says, Namaste Vasudevaya, Nama Sankarshanaya Cha, Pradyumna Niruddhaya, Tubhyam Bhagavate Namaha, Narayanaya Rishaye, Purushaya Mahatmane, Vishveshwaraya Vishwaya, Sarvabhutatmane Namaha. This means obeisance is unto you, O Supreme Lord Vasudeva, and to your forms of Sankarshan, Anirudh, Pradyumna. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all obeisances to you, O Lord, as Narayan Rishi, O Creator of the universe. Please accept my respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. So Srila Jiva Goswami comments on this particular verse. He says that although Krishna appeared at the end of the Dwapar Yuga, great sages actually chanted this verse. This particular verses, these two verses were chanted from the beginning of this Dwapar Yuga, expecting for the Lord to make his arrival at the end, towards the end of Dwapar Yuga. Then text 32, very, very important verse. This is the verse that talks about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in Kali Yuga. This is text 32. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayair Yajanti Sumedhasaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So here we see that, in the previous incarnations, Krishna and his incarnations, they're all talking about the weapons, that the Lord comes with. Krishna comes with his Sudarshan Chakra, Lord Ramacandra with his bow and arrow. Many, many incarnations, Parashuram has his axe. Every incarnation, they have a particular weapon. What is the weapon of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? His weapon is Sangopangastra Parshadam. That Mahaprabhu's Sangha and Upanga and his Parshads, they are the weapons of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his complexion is Krishna Varnam Tvisha Akrishnam. That he is Krishna himself, but with the complexion which is Akrishna. Akrishna means which is not blackish, it's golden in color. And he comes with Sangopangastra Parshadam. And what does he come? What is the purpose of his coming? Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer. That he will establish the process of the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna and Yajanti hi Sumedasa. And who will participate in such congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names? Those who are the most intelligent. Medha means intelligent. Sumedha means the most intelligent. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada always said that, those who are in ISKCON, in participating in this glorious mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are the most intelligent people. Just following in this particular verse of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada would make this comment. So the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also described in the Sri Vishnu Sahasranam, which appears in chapter 189 of the Dana Dharma Parva of the Mahabharata. So Srila Jiva Goswami has quoted this reference as follows, in reference to this particular verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is said, Suvarna Varna He Mango Varangas Chandanangadi Sanyasa Kritshama Shanta Nishta Shanta Parayanaha. In his early pastimes, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are exquisitely beautiful, and his body, which is smeared with sandalwood pulp, seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyas order, sannyasa kritshama shanta, and he is equipoised and he is very peaceful. And he is the abode of, peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalists and the non-devotees. So this is the quotation about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Vishnu Sahasranam as well. Text 36. Sage Karavajana continues to glorify the age of Kali. He says, those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of the age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga, because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the simple performance of Sankirtana Yajna. Indeed, there is no higher possible gain for embodied souls forced to wander throughout the material world than the Supreme Lord's Sankirtana movement, by which one can attain supreme peace and free oneself from the cycle of repeated birth and death. So these are all glories of this age of Kali that we are in. We're so fortunate, that we are here in this age of Kali, that just 500 years ago, less than 550 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared And we are, in the direct descending parampara of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, this most merciful incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is such a special time that Kali Yuga, for this reason, is glorified. Kaler doshe nidhe rajan astihi eko mahat gunan. That this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. We'll see that this verse appears in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where we talk more about Kali Yuga. That Kali Yuga is no doubt, it is an ocean of faults, but there is one good quality about this age of Kali Yuga. Astihi eko mahat gunan. What is that mahat gunan? That kirtanadeva krishnasya. That simply by participating in the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names, mukta sangha param vrajet. You see that we can become free from all entanglements and be, delivered to the param vrajet. It's talking about Goloka Vrindavan. That this is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This verse glorifies that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not just descended from Vaikuntha. Even Krishna himself, he came from Goloka Vrindavan. But Krishna never, propagated that he has come back to Goloka with me. Krishna never propagated that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his mission is to take us back home, back to Godhead, to Goloka Vrindavan, not just to Vaikuntha, the highest spiritual abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is Goloka Vrindavan. Mukta Sangha Param Vrajet. Param Vraja. Goloka Vrindavan Dham. Because Mahaprabhu has descended from that Goloka Vrindavan, the doors of Goloka Vrindavan opened by the coming of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And when Mahaprabhu descended, he did not close the doors of Goloka Vrindavan behind him. And those doors are open till today for any living entity who participates in this, Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. The doors of Goloka Vrindavan are open till today for such a person. That is the special and unique quality of this Kali Yuga, this particular Kali Yuga. So text 38 and 40 says, "My dear king, the inhabitants of Satya Yuga and the other ages eagerly desire to take birth in Kali Yuga, in this Kali Yuga. Since in this age there will be many devotees of the Supreme Lord. These devotees will appear in various places, but will be especially numerous in different parts of the world. O Master of men, in the age of Kali, those persons who drink the waters of the holy rivers of Dravida Desh, of South India, such as the Tamparini, the Krutamala, the Payasvini, the extremely pious Kaveri, and the Pratichi Mahanadi, will almost all be pure-hearted devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva." Text 41, very, very important verse of this chapter. Devarshi bhutaptan rinam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam rinicha rajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam pariratya kartam. O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, the great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered their life to the Supreme Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. This is the verdict of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 42, in continuation of this same verse, very important verse. Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse many, many times in his lecture. Srila Prabhupada's, one of his favorite verses, this is text 42. Swapada-moolam bhajata priyasya Tyaktantya bhavasya hari paresha vikarma yachotpit patitam kathanchid dhunoti sarvam hridi sannivishta. one who has thus given up all other engagements and has taken shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very, very dear to the Lord. Indeed, if such a surrendered soul accidentally commits sinful activity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, immediately takes away the reaction to such sin. Srila Prabhupada explains in one of his lectures to this particular verse. Srila Prabhupada says that the devotees of the Lord are always apichat suduracharo bhajate maam ananya bhak. That the Lord, the sincere devotees of the Lord, may commit some sinful activities sometimes, but it is sinful. So therefore the Lord immediately takes away the reaction to such sinful activities. But the Lord here does not talk here about aparadh. Aparadh, or committing offense to a devotee, gets us, you see the word aparadha. It is, against. Apa means against. Apa sampradaya means what? Means which is not in conduciveness to the sampradaya, which is against the sampradaya. So then in that context, what does aparadha mean? That's something which makes us against the most merciful Radharani. Aparadha means against Radha. So Krishna will never forget anyone who commits aparadha. But one who commits papa, sin, even though they may be a devotee, Krishna immediately takes away those sinful reactions. And those who have committed sins, like even a person like, the great dacoit, Ratnakar, he was so sinful that when Narada Muni came and told him that chant the name of Ram, he was so sinful that the holy name of Ram was not coming from his mouth. He was saying Mara. So Narada Muni said, you say Mara, no problem, say Mara. So Mara, 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 Rama, 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 Rama. He came like that. And he became the great Vishwamitra, Rishi. So he was the greatest dacoit Ratnakar. So the glories of the holy names is that it can transform a sinful person. But the glories of the holy names are also incapable of forgiving one who offends the Supreme Lord's devotees or the Supreme Lord himself. So therefore, we must be so careful of aparadh. This is something that we learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So text 43, Narada Muni concludes by saying that having thus heard the signs of devotional service, King Nimi, the king of Mithila, felt extremely satisfied along with the sacrificial priests, and he offered his respectful obeisances to these great, sages, the Navayogendras, who are the signs. Ratnakar, the dacoit Ratnakar, not Vishwamitra, he became the great sage Valmiki. I thank my mother for making that correction. Thank you so much, Mom, that this was not, Ratnakar became not Vishwamitra, but Valmiki. Thank you for, there was by mistake. Thank you for that correction. So then, text 44, the perfect sages then disappeared before the eyes of everyone present. The Navayogendras disappeared, and King Nimi faithfully practiced the principles of spiritual life that he had learned from the Navayogendras, and he thus achieved the supreme goal of life. And Narada Muni, remember, Narada Muni is speaking all of this to Vasudeva, Krishna's father. So he concludes by saying that in text 45, he says that, "O greatly fortunate Vasudeva, simply apply with faith these principles of devotional service which you have heard, and you will become free from all material association." So, it is said that Vasudeva, on the eve of the disappearance of Krishna, like Krishna is about to disappear. He's about to wind up his pastimes on the earth. He's going to make the Yadavas disappear also. So in this time, Vasudeva actually becomes full of lamentation, thinking that he had not, fully utilized his opportunity to, serve Krishna. But Narad Muni, he's assuring Vasudeva that the glories of Vasudeva and his, glorious wife Devaki as the parents of Krishna are being chanted even by the Devatas. So Vasudeva, should not lament, either for the upcoming destruction of the Yadu dynasty, nor, for, that the sages have cursed Samba and the young Yadavas, and for that the Yadu dynasty has become cursed. He should not think in that way, because he should just, think that this is all the arrangement of Krishna and that he is not at fault. So Narad Muni is trying to assure Vasudeva in this way. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead descended. So Narad Muni is trying to, give assurance to Vasudeva that he should not feel in any way responsible that, because of him, anything, untoward is happening in connection to the Yadavas. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami, he concludes that having thus heard this narration, the greatly fortunate Vasudeva was completely struck with wonder, and thus he and his most blessed wife Devaki gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. And anyone, the last verse of this chapter says, that anyone who meditates on this pious historical narration with fixed attention will fully purify himself of all contamination in this very life and will achieve the highest perfection of life. So this is the conclusion of today's session. I see that we have a question from Janeshwar Gauranga Prabhu, that if the color of the Lord in Treta Yuga is red, then why is Lord Ramacandra not red in Kali Yuga? Sorry, I think you mean in Treta Yuga. That Lord Ramachandra's color is parrot green. That is the color of Lord Ramachandra. But again, as we said, that, the appearance of Lord Ramachandra, although it happens in Treta Yuga, and the Lord's color, the complexion of the Lord is parrot green, it doesn't really matter, because this is just the general context that is told, and Lord Ramachandra, he is actually not Yuga avatar. He is not the Yuga avatar. He is actually, directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is considered to be a Leela avatar. So therefore, when Leela avatars come, they are not in the category of the Yuga avatars. So Yuga avatars is the complexion of the red that is talked about here in the connection to Treta Yuga. So I hope this answers your question, Janeshwar Gauranga Prabhu. And before we take any more questions, we would like to give the quiz questions for today's session. We have 13 questions. Okay, so the first question is, where are Nara-Narayan Rishis residing? Second, who did Indra send to Nara-Narayan Rishis with an intention to bewilder them? Third, who did the demigods choose from the women manifested from the veil of Nara-Narayan Rishi? Fourth, who fell into the water in a calf's hoof print? Fifth, how does the Lord take advantage of the wars between the demigods and the demons? Sixth, what are the features of the Yuga avatar in Satya Yuga? Seventh, what are the names by which the Lord is glorified in Satya Yuga? Eighth, what are the symbols and color of the Yuga avatar in Treta Yuga? Ninth, what are the names by which the Lord is glorified in Treta Yuga? 10th, which one of the Nava-Yogendras predicted the appearance of Lord Caitanya? 11th, what is the meaning of Aparadha? 12th, what was the name of Valmiki Rishi earlier? 13th, what is the falastuti of hearing the narration between Vasudeva and Narad Muni? So if there's any other questions, we can take that now. We again thank all of our Facebook Live viewers and for your beautiful comments. That really motivates us to keep going on. So hopefully tomorrow we will be able to simultaneously broadcast even over YouTube Live. and we hope that our situation is resolved with the internet. But if not, we will take association through just Facebook Live, and these videos will be there available on YouTube also in the playlists. So you will be able to get them. So I'm just rambling on right now. If there are any more questions by anybody else, if not, we will take leave. Thank you all so very much for joining us today, and we thank you all for your association. Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Vartaman Guru Vrinda ki jai. Janitai Gaur Sitanat Premanande. Hari Hari Vol. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.